Welcome to NovoEdTalks, where we reveal real-world strategies and expert insights from learning and development professionals. In every episode, we chat with practitioners, course designers, learning strategists, and business leads. We hear about their experiences in the learning industry and predictions for the profession and the trends that they're seeing. But before we get started, a little bit about NovoEd. Founded at Stanford's Social Algorithms Lab in 2012, NovoEd is a people-centric, capability-building platform that combines social and collaborative learning to drive performance readiness at scale. Through cohort-based experiences centered around human interaction, NovoEd taps into collective wisdom, placing each learner at the center of perspective, application, and expertise. Large enterprises such as 3M, GE, Marriott International, and Nestle partner with NovoEd to accelerate their critical initiatives, reconnect teams, and achieve rapid alignment through learning that is felt, experienced, and swiftly transformed into impact. Now, let's meet our guest for today's episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NovoEdTalks podcast, a space for training trailblazers to get real. My name is Melissa Fisk. I'm the producer of the NovoEdTalks podcast, and today I am joined by Mary Ng, who is the Director of Talent Development at City of Hope. Knowing the importance of servant leadership, Mary studied hospitality management and started her career in the hotel and restaurant industries. While gaining her management experiences at Hyatt Hotels International, Mary embarked on her training and development journey. With additional academic education, Mary joined Darden Restaurants, a Fortune 300 company. It was at Darden where Mary successfully created talent development systems and tools that touched and impacted hundreds of thousands of employees and leaders in her 20 years tenure. Currently, Mary follows her heart to contribute her professional experiences to City of Hope, an organization that dedicates itself to making a difference in the lives of people with cancer, diabetes, and other life-threatening illnesses. Mary calls herself a talent development generalist, and her personal why is to support others to realize and reach their full potential so she can be the best version of herself. Mary, thank you so much for joining us today on the NovoEdTalks podcast. It is a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
All right. Well, why don't you start by just introducing yourself a little bit more, talking about your role in your company?
Oh, absolutely. So in the past 4 years, I have been with City of Hope, as Melissa, you mentioned, and it is a national cancer treatment research and education institute. And the first 2+ years, I was at the enterprise leading employee engagement and performance. It was fun. However, suddenly a very unique opportunity knocked, and I responded. In our Office of Philanthropy, one of our critical vertical, actually decided to have a critical function called Strategic Talent Management, STM. And they asked if I would join them to help build the foundation, extending the reach to all our talent to focus on their growth and development, and also to support the philanthropy and City of Hope growth. So that's kind of the background where I am now.
That's amazing. That must be so fulfilling to work at an organization that's doing just something so powerful and so impactful. Why don't you talk a little bit about who your learners are and, what some of their challenges are?
Absolutely. Since I am in the Office of Philanthropy, we have about 200 plus and growing professionals. Many of them are fundraisers. However, they are also, it's kind of like we have our own ecosystem in there. We have finance, we have data analysts, and now we also have talent management in there. So they come from a wide variety of backgrounds, roles, industry sectors, and all. And so that actually poses a very interesting and very unique opportunities for us to focus on various talent and team needs.
Yeah, I bet. Could you talk a little bit maybe about what some of the biggest workforce development challenges are with this group and how you're approaching them?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of talk from an organization perspective. City of Hope grows like crazy. A couple of years ago, we merged with another organization. So that rapid growth actually is the root of a lot of our work. So specifically in Office of Philanthropy, I mentioned that we have leaders, team members who come from very different backgrounds. And so especially in the mid-level managers, some of them are hired or placed into this rapid growing organization before they were even totally ready. Right. So part one of our challenge is to make sure that we understand what are their challenges, what are their current skill needs, and then be able to strategically identify talent solutions for them. So that's one.
Yeah.
The second one is kind of along this line of change. Many managers in the past, they might not have a lot of experiences in leading change. So this whole skill gap of how to lead change and not just to follow or navigate change becomes a very, very big skill need for them. We need to help them as team members, leaders, to be able to upskill themselves to navigate this rapid growth within the organization and also in the workforce overall. We need to help them to build resiliency, get skills so that they are change ready and be able to achieve what our organization's result and also these constant demand of constant change.
Yeah, absolutely. And this kind of goes into my next question, which is, in addition to this rapid growth that the organization is going through, as the skill sets needed for success continue to shift just with all of new technologies and, everyone going in 100 different directions, it feels like some days. But what strategies do you and your team use to ensure that your workforce remains kind of adaptable and prepared?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I joined, our deputy also joined the organization. So he set up some strategies along talent. So let me kind of unpack some of them. So one is with what I've learned here with philanthropy and also in nonprofit healthcare, a lot of our members join the organization because they really tie to the mission of the organization.
Sure.
Specifically in a fundraising world, that strong, trusting working relationship is one of the very unique characteristics of it. And for us as a dedicated talent team within a philanthropy vertical is very unique. I've heard that they're rare and very unique, that not many philanthropy shop actually has that. So with all that, we're trying to kind of build our strategies, not just from a process perspective. We also look at the people side, the working relationship side.
Yeah.
So from a process perspective, Melissa, you probably have heard a lot of organizations, right? They always go do some kind of needs analysis to understand what is kind of the broad-based need by roles, by levels. So we do the same. And so we have structured programs that we delivered. And one thing we also have learned is that because we are small and mighty, we also need to be agile with the business cycle. So when we deliver, who we deliver, how we deliver, all that, we really consider the audience side of what we provide. So that's one piece. The other piece is as talent management, we're actually kind of like an internal consultant. And I'm already mentioned, we have a lot of changes, whether it's people coming in, whether it's building teams, reorganizing. So we actually play a very proactive role in understanding different teams, different leaders, what are the upcoming changes so that we can actually go in to consult, understand their needs, and provide very customized, tailor-made solutions. Some of them are team interventions, some of them are team dynamics, some of them maybe, more individual basis, and they're all very, very specific, right? Then kind of also externally, we know that we cannot be disconnect with the outside world. We cannot be disconnect with our enterprise level. So we always keep our fingers on the pulse whether it is sponsoring our members to go and attend conferences so that they can acquire the more recent trends and best practices, and or have our members join as association members, take leadership roles, and so that they can bring in some of the best practices or sharing some of ours externally. And STM, we definitely also want to be on top of those trends and best practices and tools and resources. So we also always keep tab of what's out there. Like following NovoEd is one of the things that we do to make sure that we are definitely following and learning from the best.
Thank you. That's so kind of you to say and makes us always feel good for sure. How does your team assess and address skills gaps? You've talked about this a little bit, but how do you do you have a way that you measure those or address those and continue to stay agile?
Yeah. So one of the things I've learned in a small team, by the way, before this role, I've always been in, big Fortune companies, big corporations, and, for profit. And when I come into this role, I realized that one of the advantages is actually smaller population we serve. We actually can build very, very strong relationships with the team members and the leaders. So we actually so-called hear it directly from those who are leading or being impacted. And so we can kind of strategize and understanding their needs, their gaps, and deliver things that are very much customized for them. So that's one thing I definitely have learned, and we continue to use that very unique characteristics. I've already mentioned very formally needs assessment annually. That's our way to understand the broad-based need. We also, as I mentioned, my last role was in employee engagement. So employee engagement is still top of mind for me. Thank goodness our Office of Philanthropy is actually one of the top vertical teams that have very high score in employee engagement, but does not mean that there are no room for improvement. Does not mean that there are pockets of teams or areas that we could focus. So employee engagement result is another way to help us to kind of pinpoint where we need to look at gaps and where we could do better.
Yeah.
Other things that I think a lot of organizations do, kind of end of program, end of session, emotions and sentiment evaluation, we do that. One thing I also love is our deputy. He is actually part of our very senior leadership team. And so when he attends these meetings or give guidelines and suggestions to our senior leaders, we in talent management actually can proactively and strategically know where the directions, where the insights from our very senior leaders, and also from the enterprise perspective, how our work could provide our solutions to close gaps. And even what are some of the upcoming things that are around the corner that we may not know, but senior leadership are talking about, our deputy is able to bring it to us, and so that we can actually play a very strategic role.
Wow.
Another thing with our STM talent management group, we actually touch the whole employee life cycle. So we are involved in recruiting, we're involved in onboarding, talent, developing, and definitely offboarding. During this life cycle, because we are so hands-on and have so strong working relationship with individuals and leaders, we get a lot of data, whether they're formal, informal, quantitative, qualitative. All those have to feed into what we can see gaps or things coming around the corner and be able to proactively put strategies together.
Absolutely. That's such a great, everything you mentioned there, it's like a very full picture of what's going on, which I think is so important to really understand where your true gaps are. Do you have anything, how do you currently measure the effectiveness of your programs? And do you have any kind of core KPIs that you follow?
Great question, right? We are still at the early stage. As I mentioned, strategic talent management was really refreshed about a year, maybe 2 years ago. So we're still at the very rudimentary stage, the built state. So many of the things that we do, I know many organizations are doing, like whether it's level 1, it's level 2, or whether it is about looking at application. So one thing I've found is because we are so close to our population that we serve, we actually look at evidence of applications quite a bit as indicators of our successes. Whether it is about after intervention, after a program, we actually could go directly to the people and say, what have you used? What have you applied? What's successful? Some of them are very formal, 30, 60 days follow-up sessions. Some of them, we actually set a meeting with the leader and say, okay, tell us what has happened and what has not happened. So that is a very interesting way for us to kind of capture evidence of application. Now, the other one is kind of a fun one, and from my background from business, you probably have heard repeat business and word of mouth. Well, we use that as one of our evidence and indicators of how we're doing. We have many teams that they like the last quarter of interventions or events that we propose to them and or deliver to them, and they'll come back and say, "Hey, this quarter now here are some of my next challenge or the progress of where we are. Can you help?" And many of our participants, whether they are team members or leaders, really help to spread the word of what does strategic talent management contribute to philanthropy. So that's kind of a very informal way for us to kind of keep tab. Now, definitely moving forward, we definitely want to build in more formal ways. So some of our programs now, we are getting more intentional to integrate our measurement and evaluation processes at the various touch points of the program so that we actually can have some more formal data and qualitative evidence to share with our leadership and our workforce.
That's amazing. That's amazing. How do you have like a successful case study that could exemplify kind of an initiative, that really kind of impacted the overall organization?
Yeah. So now, as I mentioned with our strategic talent management, we're still at the build stage where the infancy of it. So we have lots of kind of small success stories of things we have done, but haven't really have a story that is holistically. So if it is okay, Melissa, I'd love to use as an example from my past of a mentoring program that I implemented, that I led in other places. Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
Okay. Great, excellent. So in one of my prior employment places that I serve, they are the largest sit-down restaurant chain. And as you all can imagine, with the restaurant industry, talents are very diverse. They come from many different backgrounds and different skills and all. In order to focus on the diverse talent in that organization, there was a need to create a mentoring program to really focus on the growth and development of the diverse talent. So we use a mentoring program where diverse talent can be matched with the senior leadership to focus on the professional and career development. The framework we use is called a reciprocal benefit. That means it's not just the mentee, but it's also the mentor, who are senior leaders, can get something out of it, and they set the goals of what are some of the things that they would like to get out from the relationship, and then they grow together. So now you're saying, oh, well, okay, Mary, show me some of the successes, right, or the KPIs. So here's some of the things that is still keeping in my mind, even though it has been like many, many years ago. One, we ran a pilot program for a year. Later on, because of the success, we also ran 2 more cohorts. During those 3 years, we have zero dropout from the program. We also intend to measure what is the goal completion rate. I mentioned that the mentor and the mentees both have to set up their goals. So we measured the progress and also the completion rate. if I remember correctly, it was in the high 80s of completion rate for both of the participants. We
Wow.
also want to know a satisfaction rate, right? So the satisfaction rate, they love it. It was about in the 90%, which also is great. The other thing is, because this program is about focusing on professional and career growth, so actually 2 of our diverse mentees got promoted during the 3-year run of the program. So kind of holistically, you can see that just that program supports that initiative about diverse talent. And because of that success, so here's the other side of that story was the organization definitely saw the need of mentoring, saw the need of growth and development, and also a performance management refresh. So because of those initiatives, we decided to use mentoring as a program, as a lever to have mentoring, what we call mentoring to the masses, democratizing mentoring, if you want to use that word. So
Yeah.
we actually opened it up to everyone in the organization, open sessions about demystifying mentoring, coaching, sponsorship, teaching them various framework like what is board of advisors versus mentor? How do you really own your development? What's your role and responsibilities? And instead of matching mentors for them, we help them to catch your own board of advisors. So those skill and framework all work really well. And what I really love about that is out of a 3 to 5 year span, we actually was able to use not just a program, but something that allows the organization to focus on the organization objective and achieving some of the goals and results that they were looking for.
Wow, that's really incredible. And I love what we've actually been talking a lot about that here at NovoEd, is just mentorship and the power of that, and making it like more, and how do we make it like more authentic and accessible to everyone? So that's a beautiful, beautiful case study. Thank you so much for sharing that. Kind of switching gears a little bit to talk about technology. Are there certain tools or platforms that you use either now or in your past experiences that you think can really enhance learning and mentoring for employees?
Yeah, I think right now what we're using is very much like many organizations have been using, whether it is about designing, providing, tracking. Is nothing more major. But, I was thinking about a upcoming initiative, a program that we're rolling out that kind of like link different platforms together. Career development is a big need in philanthropy. And so we actually started to work on this project. We call it a career catalog. Basically, we identify 8 to 10 very critical fundraising roles. We really go study what are some of the key skills and capabilities, and then build learning pathways for these critical roles. So on our SharePoint, we use it as a platform for interactions. We have recently have LinkedIn Learning to support our providing of learning modules. So we are now actually switching a lot of our learning solutions using LinkedIn content. And the cornerstone is our LMS. So we are also using that as a way to provide the learning experience, track the training progress. And this particular program will be kind of refreshed and launched very soon. So I don't think it's anything like, wow, so different of new technology, but kind of like many organizations are trying to weave various platforms and technologies together to accomplish results.
Absolutely. And I love that, what you just said too, like weaving in the platforms. This actually came up in a recent episode with another guest as well, as just, which is kind of like an interesting concept where it's like, yes, technology plays an important part in programs, but we do have to kind of weave it in, especially in learning and development and mentoring, like with the human elements of it as well, right? Where it can't just be like one platform fits all and here it is and go ahead and do this. You've got to add in like all these human components to it as well. Um, for our next question, I have these two back-to-back questions. One's kind of looking back and one's looking forward. So for the looking back, as and you've got like a great experience in various different roles, but as learning and development and mentoring programs have really evolved, what are some of the like key takeaways you've seen from the past 5 years?
Yeah, I think after COVID, during and after COVID, the whole learning and talent development element of supporting the organization really come to the forefront, right? I remember way back, so this kind of show my age, way back when L&D was very much of a passive role. Oh, go create programs to train. And you're usually the function to know what things change and process change. But what I'm really seeing is learning and talent development becomes a key level for organizations, right? To attract and also retain talent. And they use it as the advantages of that particular organization. So that is a great news to know. So that's one piece. The other one, we just talk about that technology. I cannot keep track of all of those new things happening in technology. So with technology, the expectations of productivity, the expectations of how to upskill, even learning, I don't even remember when I started learning about AI maybe 18 months ago. And now it's a daily word that weave in and out, and not even talking about the programming side, the technology side of AI. And there's a lot more applications. I even tried to dabble into using an AI to help me to do instructional design. What? So those are the things that I don't think we've heard about it, maybe even 3 years ago. So the whole L&D future, the whole technology support, those are the things that really change our world.
Yeah, absolutely. It is so crazy how something like such a big concept, like as simple and big, but like AI just like took over every conversation about everything. Like I went to lunch with some girlfriends the other day and we're talking about how we're using AI, like in our personal lives. And it's just like, when did that happen? On the flip side of that other question there is, how is your team leveraging technology? You talked about that a little bit, but like, how are you looking to the future and is it technology that you're leveraging or what are you doing to prepare for the next 5 years?
Yeah, we always said we have to learn and test it first before we kind of spread the wealth. So right now, our team, including myself, we're really playing with AI and try to see how it can help us to really speed up research, how to help us to build learning sessions. But at the same time, have to keep all the confidentiality in-house. Right? So we learn about that. But then also, I think, well, since COVID, the whole hybrid and distributed workforce is a big, thing. It's happening. So leveraging collaboration tools. Every day I use Teams. It's sitting next to me all the time. Microsoft Teams, or we using webinars like now. So a lot of collaboration tools are allowing people to be inclusive. I've learned that, hey, for some of my learners who are very introversion, they love webinars because they could go into the chat function and type in their comment, and they could, and that's how they could put their voice into the interaction. So I think some of these technology will continue to evolve and really continue to be providing a great learning experience, and whether it is the people who are holding the event and the sessions and the people who are participating. Project management tool is another one. We now have one project management tool, and that holds us accountable in terms of the progress of the projects, in terms of planning, in terms of kind of sharing where communicating where the project is. I just think that the technology in our world is really going to look into various kinds of applications in our day-to-day life. whether it's a team member or a leader or us in talent development to really leverage reaping the benefits of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then Mary, my last question here is to close on a positive note. What's the most important lesson that you've learned as a leader that you would pass on to someone just starting out their journey?
So I love 4 words. It's called always learning, always teaching. By the way, I actually stole that. I didn't come up with it. It was actually one of the guiding principles from one of the organizations I worked in the past, and it has stuck with me. The reason why those 4 words stuck with me is because I really see the applications. It's an evergreen principle, no matter what type of organization, right? No matter what stage the organization is, no matter what the individual roles are in the organization or in the personal professional life, it is really a growth mindset in action. And it really inspired me to take up challenges, to do more, to learn more, to do better. So those 4 words, I can recite it in my sleep.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's so great. And so simple concept, but very important and carries a lot of weight. Mary, thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of the NovoEdTalks podcast. It was an absolute pleasure having you on.
It's my honor and my pleasure, Melissa. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to another episode of the NovoEdTalks podcast.